fall plant sale that's coming up. And I just want to give everybody a kind of a general update because I don't know how much everyone knows. So Jason has decided to extend that sale and make it a 2-day situation so that we can cut down on the number of people that are all present at one time, right? So it can make it easier for us to social distance. So the sale, instead of just being a few hours on Thursday, will actually start on Wednesday, September 30th. It's going to open at noon and last until 6. And then we will also have the sale the following day, which is October 1st. That's a Thursday. Also beginning from 12, ending at 6. So a few things to keep in mind. Social distancing obviously is going to be a requirement. Even though it is outdoors, we're asking people to wear masks and limiting the number of shoppers inside the shopping area to 50. So, you know, if people are in line, they're going to have to distance themselves appropriately while they're, you know, waiting in line. And they won't be able to go in until someone comes out, if we happen to have 50 people in the shopping area at one time. My hope is that people, since they know the sale is open for 2 days and for 6 hours each day, that we won't have that big rush of a crowd, you know, show up at any one given time. My hope is that the flow will just kind of be steady, right, throughout that time. So, so we're doing that. Obviously, we're not having any of the talks or anything that are inside. We are still going to have a section for Master Gardener plants. So I know everybody, or a lot of people, have been taking care of their plants that they were going to put in the spring sale and kind of grooming them and trying to keep them alive all summer long. So if you have any that are still alive, no, I'm just kidding. Y'all are better than me. But really, if you have any that are still alive that you'd like to donate to the plant sale, we are going to be receiving plants on Monday of that week. All this information, I'll tell you where to find it in a minute. We'll be receiving plants Monday of that week, beginning at 12 to 6, and then Tuesday in the morning time from like 9 to 12. So you're going to have a good window of time to bring your plants by, drop them off. We don't want everybody stressing about the labels this year because we're not going to have the capabilities to have the printer out there and all that goes along with making the labels. So what we are going to do is label the plants with a common name. And Elizabeth Edwards has secured some weatherproof proof labels for us. So for example, say that you are bringing your plants, you've got like, I don't know, 5 coneflowers and 5 black-eyed Susans or something like that. So you get there to drop your plants off. If you can have that written down like on a piece of paper or something so that we would know what your plants are, we're going to be able to write those right there. We're just going to put, you know, coneflower, black-eyed Susan. We're only using common names, and we're going to write it on that all-weather tag and stick it in the pot. And then we'll be able to price them after that point. So we're trying to kind of simplify things just so that it's, you know, a little easier and not as many people will have to touch it, right? We're trying to cut down on how many times things come in contact with people's hands. So, so that will be how that goes. I'm not sure exactly where the drop-off is going to be. I mean, I know it's going to be at the research center, but I'm not sure where. So don't know if we're going to be in the parking lot or if it's going to be by the woodshed, or, you know, we just haven't figured out all those details yet, but that information will be forthcoming. So just be looking out for that. I put signups out just right before our meeting started, probably, I don't know, it's about 5 o'clock. I posted them on our members only Facebook group. So there's a sign up link for volunteering for sit up. And then there's a separate link for volunteering for the days of the sale. And I've tried to put job descriptions on there and all that good stuff. We have shifts rotating in 3-hour sections. So you can just sign up to work for 3 hours, or if you feel like you should do the whole time. You could sign up for 2-3 hour sessions in a row. It's just whatever's up to you. Don't feel pressured to volunteer. We're going to have plenty of people, okay, to cover this and to get it done. So don't, if you don't feel comfortable, I don't want you to do it. If you don't feel comfortable, being in public and being in that type of situation, like, do not feel, an urge to, like, oh, it's not going to happen if I'm not there, because it'll be fine, and we'll get taken care of. But I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's plants and to seeing Jason's plants and just getting to at least catch a few glimpses of everybody anyway, even if it's from a distance. So I think that's all I have in the way. I'm trying to make sure that I didn't forget anything that's super important about the plant sale. I don't think so. I think that's it. So all the other information should be on the sign up link. So check our Facebook page out, and tomorrow I'll try to send those in an email. I know some of you don't use Facebook, so I'll send that in an email too. Okie dokie. So with no further ado, Chris, I'd like to let Miss Sue Ann introduce you real quick. Would that be okay? Okay.
And I won't make the introduction long or fancy. We did have a newsletter which had some information about Chris, and of course many of you watch him regularly on the family plot. And I have to admit, when I first heard of the family plot, I thought it was about a graveyard. So I was delighted to find that it wasn't a show about graveyards. Although my family loves visiting graveyards, we do it whenever we have a family reunion. So, but Chris, he's live and with us, and he's going to tell us a lot about organics. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sue. I appreciate that introduction. It's so great to see so many faces on here this evening. So thank you for being with us. I do appreciate that. And thank you too, Celeste. You're doing a great job. I always look forward to talking with Celeste, and I know that she's doing a great job there in Madison County, and I'm fond of her work. So thank you, Celeste, and thank you, Ms. Sue. Yes, so I actually came across somebody who was a fan of the show a couple of years ago. They were from New Orleans, Louisiana. Saw the title of the show, and she thought as well that it was a show about cemeteries. And she told me she was quite pleased to know that it was not about cemeteries and about flowers that she could put at her cemetery plot one day. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I'm going to share my screen here, Celeste, if that's okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
Good, got it, okay.
And I think that I've got everybody muted, but if you could just check yourself and make sure that your audio is muted, that way we don't get feedback while Chris is talking with us.
All right, we good, Celeste?
Yes, that looks perfect.
Okay. All right, so thank you again. Thank you again for the opportunity. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'll see if I can stay in my seat this time. I'm so used to walking about and using my hands and my arms and things like that. So I kind of feel a little restricted when I do these Zoom meetings, but I will try to do my level best to make sure that you enjoy tonight's presentation. So we're going to talk about organics.
If you need to get up, Chris, if you need to get up, you just get up.
Hey, Celeste, I've actually done that, and somebody let me know that they were actually looking at my waist area. So I had to make sure I sat back down quickly. Yeah, I got kind of carried away during that presentation, but I'll try not to do that, expose my waist to you. So tonight's talk is about organics, and the reason why I chose to talk about this is because of COVID-19. This pandemic, of course, we know it's been very difficult for a lot of people. But at the same time, it's actually helped garner more attention to gardening. So I've gotten a lot of calls from beginner gardeners, and they always ask me the same question. And the question was about organics. And it usually started this way. So I'm interested in growing my own fruits and vegetables. Can you help me? Yes, I can help you. But I would like to grow those fruits and vegetables without using a lot of chemicals. Okay, so I still think I can help you. So after talking to a lot of those beginner gardeners about organic means or organic ways to grow their produce, I started, taking a lot of notes, and I actually put those notes into a PowerPoint presentation. So it is what you're seeing today. And this is the first time I've actually done this PowerPoint about organics. So let's see how it goes, y'all.
I love being the first to hear a new presentation.
Oh, this is new. Let me see if I can advance it here. All right. Here we go. Okay, so these were some of the questions that I got about organic gardening. They were about soils, right? Fertilization was a question that came up a lot. Of course, guess what? Everybody wants to control weeds, don't they? Okay, so we're going to talk about some organic means to do that. And how about the insect pests? I don't know about you, but when I first joined this call, I heard you all talking about deer. Here there's been a lot of questions about Japanese beetles, squash bugs, just a lot, about pests this year. So I wanted to incorporate that in here as well. And of course, the last one being diseases, right? We've had a lot of diseases this year. Folks, it's been a wet year. It's been wet, it's been hot, and it's been humid. So anytime you have a combination of any of those, for the most part, you're going to have diseases. So again, these are the issues that I want to talk about tonight, because these are the issues that those beginner gardeners had for me, okay? So let's look at the first one. Let's talk about soils, right? So what do you consider to be a good soil? Let's think about that for a second, okay? So to me, soils are 25% water. They're 25% air, they're 47% minerals, and 3% organic matter. Folks, that is a good soil. Right? Now, in order to have good soil, you have to have pore space, right? Organic matter that's incorporated into the soil creates pores. Large pores actually will help water to drain. Then you have smaller pores, which actually holds water and holds nutrients, okay? So you have a good soil, but a good soil has to have pores. Large pores for drainage, small pores to hold some water and some nutrients, okay? Now, so what is soil, right? Well, soil is a living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals, and humans. That's the definition that is given to us by USDA. Again, a living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals, and humans, okay? Now, we know that soil organisms help to decompose organic matter, right? But how do you keep those organisms happy? Well, I'm glad you asked, right? So you have to feed those organisms. So what do those organisms want? Well, they want food, and that food is going to be what? Organic matter or organic material. The second thing you want to make those organisms happy is going to be what? Shelter, okay? Shelter, and that shelter for soil is going to be soil structure, all right? Pore space, I just got to talking about that. How about aggregates, all right? So that's the house, right? We want to keep them happy. And then finally, they're going to need water, okay? So that's how you keep your organisms happy. Now, we want organic matter, folks, to be like a sponge, like your brain is tonight. We want you to absorb all of this good knowledge, right? So, but you want your organic matter to absorb water, right? To absorb nutrients. It's going to be good for your soil, okay? Because soil health promotes microbial activity, good microbial activity. Because that's what you want in your soils. You want microbial activity. So let's talk a little bit about this organic matter, right? Okay. So organic matter is good because it actually holds nutrients. Okay. It allows for water infiltration, holding capacity, structure, right? But it also helps to reduce crusting, and it reduces erosion. So folks, that's why soil organic matter is so important, okay? Now, you see my solutions there. Let's talk a little bit about some of these solutions. And these are the things that I've been talking about with those beginner gardeners. All right. How about the natural fertilizers, right? You've probably used some of these in your own garden. How about blood meal? Okay. Blood meal, if you don't know, actually supplies the plant with nitrogen. It's a nitrogen source. Bone meal, a lot of us use bone meal. It's a phosphorus source. How about seaweed? Anybody use that before? Seaweed extract, how about that? Seaweed supplies the plant with nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Right? That's how good that is. And of course, you know about the alfalfa. Of course, it's going to be a nitrogen source. And how about that composted manure? I talk a lot about composted manure. I want it to be so composted that you didn't even know it was manure. It crumbles like soil, right? It doesn't even smell like manure anymore, right? That's the stuff that my grandfather had on his farm. Composted manure, right? It would sit and age in the barn for years. And then we'll say, that doesn't even smell like manure, Grandpa. It's like, yeah, because it's been composted for years. But it's good stuff, right? It's what the soil wants. And if you look there, these are what I would call slow release fertilizers. And why slow release fertilizers? Think about those soil microorganisms for a second. It's going to take them a while to break down, right, these natural fertilizers, as opposed to your synthetic fertilizers. As soon as you put the synthetic fertilizers down, you get those watered in, the plant roots can immediately take those up. But with your natural fertilizers, the soil microbes are going to take their time. They're going to break it down. It's going to be released into the soil so the plants can use them. And we're talking 2, 3, 4 months, you know, depending on which one of those products that you're going to use. And they're not going to burn your plants. Some of your synthetic fertilizers will burn. So you have to be careful when you're using those. And folks, if you're using some good composted manure, you don't have to use anything else, all right? That's going to do the trick for you. So those are your natural fertilizers. How about those cover crops, folks? We actually use cover crop in our Tennessee Extension Master Gardener demonstration garden, which is out at Carterville Victory Garden. We use the hairy vetch, good nitrogen source, pulls the nitrogen from the atmosphere down into the nodules of those roots, right? Cover crops are real good because these are the things that some of your cover crops are going to do. You're not going to have to worry about erosion, right? So you're going to get less erosion. You're going to get an increase, right, of organic material. I'm going to keep going back to that. Increase in organic material. And of course, we use hairy vetch, which is a legume. So it's going to add nitrogen to the soil. So that's definitely what you want. But guess what? You don't have to use a legume. You can use a cereal grain. You can use oats, you can use rye, and it serves the same purpose, okay? And then at the end of the day, too, having that cover crop on that soil surface, guess what? Weed suppression, right? So that's always a good thing, weed suppression. So that's your cover crops. All right, let's get into it, y'all. How about that weed control? Now, we've had a lot of pop-up showers here in the past week or so. And I don't know about your yard, Celeste. My yard is full of weeds.
Well, it was full of weeds, and then my husband sprayed it like 3 times in a row to kill all the crabgrass. And so then I didn't even have any grass. It was, everything was dead.
But I will tell you what, if it were not for crabgrass, I don't think I would have a lawn.
I know, that's what I mean.
So mine does not get sprayed. So I do cut it. Don't tell my neighbors this, but he thinks it's a nice Bermuda lawn. So there you go. All right. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that weed control, okay? Because you know, when you have space, weeds are looking for space because weeds are looking for the same things that your desirable plants want. And y'all know that. Space, right? Air, don't forget that one. Nutrients, moisture. Okay, I mean, that's pretty much what your desirable plants want. weeds want the same thing. So I get a lot of question about weed control. And the picture that you see down here is a picture that I got just a couple of days ago from one of the homeowners who wanted me to identify that weed, and it's mulberry weed. Mulberry weed is growing like crazy right now with these pop-up showers. So let's look at some of the solutions that I talk about with not only beginner gardeners, but some gardeners who've been around for a while. Okay. The old hand weeding, which is actually what I do in some of my beds. I have a lot of beds here at home, but I have a lot of small beds. And I can actually, I made my beds to where they're arm length, right? So the only thing I have to do is just kind of get down, sit on one of the blocks, and I can just reach in there and just kind of, pull out those weeds. It's good therapy for me. But I always joke with my mom, and I tell her, I said, guess what, Mom? Pulling weeds is great exercise. And you know what Mom tells me? Well, you come here and pull them for me. So yeah, I got you, Mom. I understand. All right, but hand pulling is something that you can do. And again, folks, we're talking about some of your organic means, right? My grandmother's weapon of choice was the hoe. Go get that hoe and get those weeds out of my vegetable garden is what she would tell me. That was her weapon of choice, all right? What's the old hoe? So we use that, okay? Now, something else you can do is use mulch. I usually tell folks use organic mulch, right? Because I like anything that can be broken down and used by soil microbes, soil microorganisms, okay? So it can be old cardboard, newspaper, it can be leaves. I know some people that use straw. I know some people that use, of course, hay. Just make sure you get them from a reputable source because a lot of those will contain weed seeds. But anything like that you can definitely use because we know about mulch, right? It's going to help break down the splashing effect, right? So you don't get those disease spores to splash up, to those lower leaves and then flare up through the rest of that plant. And it also helps to conserve moisture, okay? And of course, like in the wintertime, it serves as a blanket for those roots that are down there. So use mulch and use an organic mulch, something that again can be broken down and used by those microbes. Those microbes will definitely thank you. And the plant roots will as well, okay? But how about this one? Solarization, right? This is something that we actually did in our garden about 3 or 4 years ago, right? So let me tell you how we ended up doing that, folks. All right, so solarization, of course, you see it there. We're just gonna trap, right, the sun's rays, right, the sun's energy under a white plastic, okay? And I'll tell you a little bit about that here in a second. So what we did, and this was actually at one of the family plot garden spots, okay? So we saw an area we wanted to start an in-ground garden, right? We actually tilled that area up, okay? So we tilled it up, we tilled it to about 6 inches in depth, okay? Because if you go 6 inches, that actually allows for more heat penetration, right? So we're looking for heat penetration. And then what I would advise you to do, especially, if the area is dry, because it was dry, because we did this in the summertime, it's always best to water it. You don't want it to be muddy, but just water it because here's the deal, folks. Water conducts heat. Water conducts heat. So we were actually able to get that ground, pretty hot. So we used I think it was a 2 mil plastic sheet. We removed all the debris, okay? We laid it down. This was in the summertime. This was about July, okay? We let it stay down for about 6 weeks, okay? Because what we were trying to do was, kill those weed seeds and some of those disease spores that may have been in the area. And we were able to do that. It's best to do this again in the summertime. I usually say between June and August because, yeah, you're gonna need the hottest part of the year to do this. And like I mentioned, we did keep it down for about 6 weeks. And of course, when we took off that plastic, y'all, that's what was ready to go. Now, I would say this, do not go back in there and till again, okay? Because if you till again, you're gonna mix, right, some of that soil together, and you don't wanna do that, okay? Because you're killing, those weed seeds and those disease spores at about a 4 to 6 inch depth, okay? If you get in there and you start tilling, you're gonna bring some of those weeds that were not affected, to the top. That defeats the purpose, all right? So don't do that. And then there was a question that I got from somebody about, but what about those beneficial organisms? Man, that was a great question. But here's the thing about that mycorrhiza and those beneficial organisms is this: they recolonize very quickly. So it wasn't a problem. So we're still planting in that bed now, 3 years later, and it's doing well. So again, don't worry about the beneficial organisms. They will recolonize pretty quickly. So that's my solarization story, and it worked out. I always heard a lot about it, never done it before. We did it, and it worked like magic, all right? But because of all the rains that we've had here lately, there's a little crabgrass in there, and there's also nutsedge in there. So yeah, we've been struggling trying to get some of that nutsedge out. But, you know, for the most part, this technique has worked very well for us. Well, so what about using some of these active ingredients to control weeds, right? Well, believe it or not, folks, once upon a time, I actually worked as a weed scientist, right? So we actually did some experimenting with some of these products and found out that they actually worked pretty good. Cinnamon oil, clove oil, which is eugenol, acetic acid, which is vinegar, right? They actually worked pretty good. They worked better on annual weeds, not so much on those perennial weeds, right? Because those perennial weeds have underground storage organisms, carbohydrates and sugars, which allows them to grow like crazy, right? So not so, these products don't work that well on those perennials. It will burn the tops down, but just does not translocate like some of your other synthetic herbicides do. But read and follow the label, because a lot of these products can be very caustic. They can cause burning. Be careful using these products that they don't get in your eyes, okay? All of this is gonna be on those labels. So you have to be careful when you're using them, okay? And look, if you go on the internet, there's so many different recipes out there, folks. So many different recipes. My only thing is this: make sure you read and follow the label. And I've done my homework, I've checked, and yes, these products that I mentioned here are actually products that UT Extension recommends. So I was happy to see that, okay? Again, I know this from experience, okay? But it was good to know that they tested and tried them as well, and these products do work. Again, read the label. They can be very caustic, do not work that well on your perennial weeds. Real good control on a lot of your annual weeds, because your annual weeds have what? Shallow root systems, right? Real shallow root systems, okay? So these products do work. Have you ever heard of herbicidal soap? There's insecticidal soap, but herbicidal soap? Yes. It actually exists. Ammoniated soaps, right, of fatty acids is what that is. That's the active ingredient, okay? Soaps of fatty acids. How about that? So it does kill weeds, right? It also has good control on moss, and it works pretty well on algae too. It acts fast though, okay? But here's the thing, folks, it's non-selective. That should ring a bell. There's something else out there that's non-selective, a product that we all know about, right? Glyphosate, maybe, okay? Non-selective. So if you're gonna be using this product around your desirable plants, be careful, because you get some burning, okay? And I should have mentioned the same thing, you know, with some of your cinnamon oils, the acetic acid. Be careful using those products around your desirable plants, because they will burn those plants, okay? So will herbicidal soap, okay? If you read and you follow the label on herbicidal soap, you will be fine. But I think it's like almost like 2 ounces for like 20 gallons or something like that, you know, some number like that. So it's effective. But here's the deal. It doesn't control a whole lot of weeds. You know, it's just a few weeds, and the ones that I can think of on top of my head are like chickweed, plantain is something else that it controls. So it's not a long, extensive list of weeds that it will control, but it will control some, okay? Read and follow the label on that. So there you have it, herbicidal soap. Herbicidal soap. Read and follow the label, please. So that was my talk about weed control, right? But how about those insect pests? How many of y'all had problems with Japanese beetle this year? I did. They wore my roses out. Wore them out, okay? So as you can see what happened to him down in that picture right there, right? For messing with my roses, I didn't appreciate that too much. Yeah, but if you have plants, you're gonna have insect pests. They're gonna come, right? So let's talk a little bit about some of these solutions that I have here. And I always like to start by talking about cultural methods. I'm big on cultural methods first. Then if you want to talk chemicals, we can talk chemicals because most people want to talk chemicals. But I always start with the cultural methods first. I heard Celeste say it, mention the plant sale that's coming up. So here's what I like to tell a lot of homeowners, especially those beginner gardeners. Do your homework, do your research. If you want to buy said plant, does said plant have problems with pests? I can remember when I started off in extension, I met Phil DeRushing, right? He came to the Agri Center, he did a talk. And the first thing he mentioned during that talk was this: beware of plants that have bugs named after them. That's something I would never forget. Never forget. And I was like, how about that? So let's go through the list, folks. Azaleas, azalea lays bugs. Celeste, I know your group is big on crepe myrtles. Guess what now? Crepe myrtle bark scale. Euonymus, Euonymus scale. There you have it. He was right. Okay, so do your homework. And how much damage can you tolerate in your landscape? What's your threshold for damage? Look, don't come to my house because I can deal with some damage on the plants in my house, because guess what? I'm an extension agent. Celeste knows this. We gotta have stuff to talk about. We gotta have pictures to show you. So I can actually deal with a little damage in my landscape from these plants.
Chris, we actually have a few of our trainees on the meeting with us tonight, and they tell you that Tuesday night when we had our IPM training, I took them on a live virtual tour of my garden. I had plenty of disease and insects to show them.
I have plenty. I've been doing videos for the folks here, Facebook, and most of those videos are from my garden where I show actually damage from insect pests and diseases. Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to do, Celeste. Let folks know that, hey, this is what we can tolerate, and we don't always get it right.
And you know, that's part of being a gardener, is having like some amount of threshold, right? You
gotta have some amount.
You can't just be all or nothing. Like, that's not.
I agree. You gotta have some tolerance, right, to damage. But I have a lot, here in my landscape for sure. All right, and then my third point there is this, folks: practice good sanitation. I see that being a problem everywhere I go now. When I'm, before COVID-19, of course, I was doing a lot of home visits, and even now during COVID-19, I go out to the Shelby County community gardens and talk to some of those folks out there, and I always see a lot of plant debris. And of course, I always get a lot of questions about insect pests and diseases, and the first thing I say is, well, look, if I was a disease spore or an insect pest, guess where I want to hang out at? Your garden, because look at all of this plant residue that's out here. So clean up your garden, folks. Those old rotten spore fruit and vegetables, throw them in the trash, all right? If you can't compost them, throw them in the trash, okay? Practice good sanitation. And how about this one? If you see that old tobacco hornworm out there, why don't you just hand pick it? If you can stand it, Celeste. My wife cannot stand it.
I can't stand it. I know that sounds crazy, but I just don't like touching bugs. I don't like it.
Just pull it off. Pull it off. That'll be fine. You'll be okay. Yeah, but that's funny. My wife doesn't like to ride in the car with me because I'll stop on the side of the road and just, I see like a branch that has like fall wetworms in it. Cut that branch off and I'll put it in my car, and you're liable to find worms and aphids and all kind of things crawling in my car. So she doesn't ride with me anymore. So yeah, but just hand pick them off. And here's something else you can do. Everybody has a hose at home, right? A garden hose. If you have those aphids out there, get out the garden hose, right? Put your jet nozzle on there. Heavy stream of water, just knock those aphids off. Those are things considered. Again, we're talking about organic practices, right? So those are the things that I tell those beginner gardeners and some of my advanced gardeners about cultural methods, okay? These are just cultural methods. Now, here's something that I'm big on now, okay? Our beneficial insects. I think our beneficial insects have become collateral damage, okay? Because a lot of folks cannot identify those beneficial insects, okay? which is why we have to educate you to make sure you know what they look like, because they can really help you in your garden, okay? So you have to know the good bugs from the bad bugs, folks. It seems like everybody I talk to these days, when they have insect pests in their garden, in their landscape, they want to pull out the heavy guns. I always tell them, oh, wait a second, wait, whoa. We don't have to pull those. We don't have to use those yet. Let me tell you about a couple of things you can use, which are pretty safe for our beneficials. As you can see here, lace wings, right? Look what they eat. All of these things we pretty much have in our garden, right? Lace wings are called aphid lions because they can eat so many aphids. Think about that. They're called aphid lions, right? You can buy eggs and larvae now online. How about that? But make sure that you have a food source. If not, they will fly away, okay? So here's the neat thing I like about lacewings is this. As you can see from that bottom picture, they would actually lay their eggs on a little stalk, okay, that hangs from a leaf. But they always lay their eggs around a population of pests, which is so smart to me, okay? So when that egg hatches, the larva comes out. The larva is that middle picture that looks like a little alligator. It has mandibles, right? So it has these little mandibles, and it actually grabs those aphids and it eats them. It grabs those mites and it eats them, right? With those little mandibles. I think that is so neat, okay? Again, they're called aphid lions because they can eat so many aphids, folks. So those are your lacewings, okay? Don't we all love the ladybugs, right? Look how many different species of ladybugs there are here in North America. 475, y'all. And we know what they can do to aphids and mites and some of your smaller caterpillars, right? Look at the eggs, though. The first picture to your left. They're yellow. You can always tell it's a ladybug eggs because they're yellow in color. So make sure you're examining your foliage, right? Not just the surface, but flip that leaf over, okay? Look at the middle picture. Now, I've had several people tell me, oh, that's an insect pest. Oh, it's the larva of a beneficial. It's the larva of a ladybug. Yeah, it looks like a little crocodile alligator, you know, but it will eat aphids in the larva stage and in the adult stage. So if you see those yellow eggs, if you see that alligator looking larva with the little UT orange, you know, on his back, right? Leave it be, because she is going to be eating aphids in that stage and in the adult stage, okay? So keep that in mind. Be mindful of that. And y'all, I just had to throw this picture in there, right? So I teach my 7-year-old son, Mason, about, you know, little insects, right? The little beneficials. So we were out in the garden one day and he likes Legos, right? So he went in the house. We just got through talking about ladybugs, and we happened to see a ladybug out in the garden. So he runs back in the house. He gets his Legos. He starts putting these little pieces together, and he brings the Legos out and lays them down in the ground, right? That's what you see right there. So I said, son, well, what is that? He said, well, it's the ladybug Lego house, right? We want to make sure that the ladybugs have a place to sit. There's a little TV there. There's a couch there. And then he grabbed a couple of weeds from my garden and put it down so the lady beetles can eat the weeds. So how about that? See, you can teach your kids at a young age about beneficial insects, right? I was so proud of him that day. I really was. So that's his ladybug Lego house. Great job with that. I was so proud. All right, just had to throw that in there, y'all. All right. How about the minute pirate's bug? I actually like this one, right? So here's the thing about the minute pirate's bug. It actually has a long beak, right? That it sticks, right? The prey, right, with this long beak, and it actually sucks out the inside of that pest, right? Using that long beak. Isn't that cool? Now they're real small, minute pirate bug, but you can see the little beak there to the left. Yeah. So it just sticks that little beak right in the body, okay, of that insect pest and sucks out all the insides. I think that's so cool, okay? It will eat thrips. It would eat aphids, okay? But they're real small. And if you have if you have a big pollinator garden, right, big flowers, they hang around because some of them will actually eat pollen, you know, which I think is real cool, okay? Then you have the big-eyed bugs, right? Big-eyed bugs, well, they have big eyes, you know, of course. So that's why they call it the big-eyed bug. So it's going to eat a lot of mites and aphids as well. And the thing about the big-eyed bug is this. I read to where they can eat 80 mites a day. What an appetite. 80 mites a day, okay? That's your big-eyed bug, all right? Now, let's talk about some products that you can use to control, you know, some of those insect pests that you may have in your garden. And you've seen some of these, and we'll talk about each one of these here, one at a time. How about BT, right? I'm sure a lot of you all have used BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, right? Natural occurring soil bacteria, okay? The caterpillar has to ingest it, okay? It gives them a stomach ache. They stop feeding. Once they stop feeding, folks, they die. Some of the products that I know that a lot of folks use here, Javelin and Dipel. It is real good for that old tobacco hornworm, okay? I would advise using it. Read and follow the label. But BT also can control mosquito larvae, right? You go to the stores, you see those little mosquito dunks, don't you? Which is at the bottom of the picture there. Those are mosquito dunks. Well, they contain BT. So that's BTI. So it's Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis is what that is, BTI, okay? Look, they don't harm the beneficials, okay? It's safe for you, me, your pets, birds. These products are safe. BT is totally safe. So if you're not using it to control those caterpillars, I think you should. If you're not using the mosquito dunks to control those mosquitoes and some of your water features and things like that, I would use it. Totally safe, okay? So that's one product. All right. Now, here's something I want to say about the horticultural oils, the dormant oils. I don't think we use oils enough, right? We don't use them enough. They're going to smother. They're going to suffocate, okay? Those insect pests, right? They're real good for those soft body pests. They're also good for, you know, some of those scales that are out there. Crepe myrtle bar scale, you know, being one, okay? Works pretty good on those, all right? Here's the deal. Contact activity, short residual. Let me repeat that again. Contact activity, short residual. So it's good for your beneficials because once this product dries, then the beneficials can come out to play. It's fine. It will not affect them, okay? Read and follow the label and you'll be fine. You don't want to use any more than a 3% rate. Anything more than a 3% rate, you're going to get phytotoxicity. You're going to get burned on the foliage of your desirable plants. So do be mindful of that. But yes, we need to use more hort oils, dormant oils, because they actually work, right? Especially dormant oil, you know, in late winter, early spring, where you can see the bones of what it is that you're trying to control. Yeah, get out there and use it. You know, just use it according to the label. Contact activity, short residual, safe for those beneficials that you may have out there in your garden. Remember we talked about herbicidal soap? There it is, insecticidal soap. Okay, works good on those soft body insect pests. Here again, folks, contact activity, short residual, which means once this product dries, safe for your beneficials, safe for your bees. Same thing with the oil, safe for your beneficials, safe for your bees. They can come on out and play. All right, you can have a good time. Now, the thing about insecticidal is this. You want to use it at I want to say it's like a 1.5–2% rate, because anything higher than that can cause phytotoxicity. And here's another question that I've gotten about insecticidal soap. Well, can I make my own concoction? This is what I usually tell folks. If you can buy from the stores, please do. And here's why. Many of the products that we use to wash dishes at home, Joy, Done, guess what they are? They are detergents, not true soaps, right? Detergents, not true soaps. So if you're using those products, it can be deadly for the foliage of your plants. So buy it if you can. Because these concoctions, I've seen people do that and they get the ratios all wrong and they're using too much of this and too much of that. Again, remember, Joy, Dunn, or whatever you're using, they are detergents and not true soaps. Okay, so be careful. You don't want to damage your folders. All right, so that's insecticidal soap. Use it. It's good stuff. What about neem oil? I like neem oil. Neem oil is real good. It comes from the neem tree. It comes from seed of the neem tree. Okay, azadirachtin is what that is. Contact activity has to be ingested in order for it to be effective. Again, once this product dries, it's good for your beneficials and it's good for those bees. Okay, and if you have any concerns about using any of these products while bees are active, this is what I usually tell folks. Use this product first, these products first thing in the morning, or use them late at night when the bees are not active, okay? But these are, again, less toxic products, right? Or least toxic products, okay? But neem oil is real good. Read and follow the label on that. Works on aphids, caterpillars, and a lot of other insect pests, okay? But the thing about neem oil that I like, it actually has fungicidal activity. So it's actually good for mildew, right? So powdery mildew, downy mildew, and some of your leaf spots is actually good for that as well, right? So not only would it control some of those insect pests, it actually controls some of your mildews and some of your leaf spots. Read and follow the label on that. Works real good, okay? But do be careful. Some people have developed allergies while using neem oil. So I want you to be careful when you're using that, folks. But it's a good product to use. Make sure you use it. Pyrethrins. We always hear a lot about pyrethrins, right? Okay. They're out there in the market. We see them all over the place, right? Chrysanthemums, right? Extracted from chrysanthemums, okay? It affects those insect pests right there at their nervous system, okay? Now, the thing about pyrethrins is this. Let's use an example of wasp, right? Most people, want to spray hornets and wasps. Well, most of that is pyrethrins because if you notice, it knocks them down real fast, right? So it works real fast, right? But you have to keep applying because it only lasts for a few hours, right? But these are your pyrethrins. They're usually mixed with another chemical so it can keep those insect pests down, okay? Because again, it'll knock them down real quick, right? But it's usually mixed with another chemical to help keep that insect pest down, okay? Read and follow the label on that. It works well. Spinosad is something that a lot of people don't know too much about. It's another soil bacteria, right? It's a soil fungus is actually what it is. It attacks that insect pest right at the nervous system. Again, they'll stop eating, paralysis, then they pretty much die, okay? You see what it's good for there? Here's the funny thing about spinosad though. It doesn't work on aphids. I would have thought it would work on aphids. And stink bugs, we know how bad stink bugs can be, so this doesn't even work on aphids or stink bugs, and we seem to have more problems with that than anything else. Now, but I want to call your attention to this, okay? You have to be very careful when you're using spinosad, because if you're using this product when the bees are out foraging, it can be toxic to them, okay? So you're gonna have to use this product first thing in the morning, or later on in the evening. It takes it about a couple of hours to dry. Okay, once it dries, and then of course it's safe for the beneficial and for those bees, but do be mindful of that. You have to use this product early or use it late when the bees are not out there because it can be toxic to bees. Read and follow the label. It is on the label. Conserve is a product that I know that some people use. It's spinosad, okay? Again, it's a natural soil occurring fungus, okay? It works well, all right? But you just have to be careful when you're using it, especially around bees. All right, so that was my talk about those insect pests, folks. And we're getting ready to wrap up here, okay? Let's talk a little bit about disease control. Again, like I mentioned before, it's been a lot of calls about diseases, folks. It's been wet, it's been hot, it's been humid. So yeah, you're gonna have disease, folks. They're gonna happen, there's no doubt about that. So here are some of the solutions that I'll talk about, to those homeowners that have questions about disease control. Right, so let's go through them here. All right, so I'm always big, Celeste, about using resistant varieties if they exist. Use the resistant variety, especially in your vegetable garden, right? Because this is what it's gonna look like for tomatoes, for instance. It's gonna tell you right on the label, right? What that tomatoes are resistant to. To me, that's half the battle. Once you know that, then you can grow tomatoes all you want to, right? But you have to make sure right? That it has that on the label, okay? Because we know how big a problem the wilts can be and the blight can be on your tomatoes. So I'm going to look for those tomatoes that are going to be resistant to that. So I would advise you do that with all of your plant material, okay? Again, y'all having a plant sale, I would look, for some of those things, right? It's going to be resistant to a lot of those diseases that are out there. How about crop rotation, folks? And crop rotation is something that I don't think people do often enough in the garden. I had to learn this one the hard way. Yeah, you plant those tomatoes in the same place, plant those squash in the same place, and then you wonder why year after year after year the squash bugs come back, those caterpillars come back, the cabbage loopers there every year, because guess what? He knows it's there every year because my cabbages are there every year, all right? You got to switch them up, right? That's what you have to do, okay? Because here's the thing about crop rotation. You're going to break weed, disease, and pest cycles. That's what I tell folks about crop rotation. Let me repeat that again. You're going to break weed, disease, and pest cycles. That's why it's so important. Of course, if you're a gardener, a lot of you, master gardeners, you're going to keep notes. You always tell folks, hey, have a journal. What worked? What didn't work? Okay? What did I use this year to spray on it? What didn't I use? Okay? Or did I rotate? What did I have here last year? What can I put here this year? Okay? Because it's so important, right? Crop rotation is so important. If you don't think it's important, ask our farmers. And Celeste can tell you about that. They know all about crop rotation. They know it works, okay? And they're, for them. So I would advise us as homeowners in our vegetable gardens to do the same thing. And here's what that looks like. So you're gonna rotate within the families, right? Legumes, right? Tomatoes, squash, greens. So you started legumes, you did that in that spot this year. Guess what you're gonna do next year? You're gonna switch over. So greens are gonna go in the spot with the legumes. Legumes are gonna drop down to where tomatoes are. Tomatoes are gonna go over to where the squash are. Rotate. You'll come back, to the where you started 3 years ago. 3 years, all right? 3 years, okay? So you just rotate, rotate, rotate. But crop rotation is so important. You're gonna rotate again within the crop families, okay? So important. All right. Now, let's look at some of your organic sprays, right? And these are the ones that I've seen a lot of research on. I read some papers about them. I've used, some of those products, so I know that they do work. And I was happy again to see, reading some of the UT extension publications, and some publications from the other land-grant universities, that they also recommended using these products, as organic sprays. So let's look at a couple of these, and we'll be finishing up. How about copper? I always tell folks to, look into using a copper hydroxide product because they do work, right? You just have to read and follow the label. Can you be used as a preventative? I think. And like I said, it's very effective, in its use. Again, used as a preventative, okay? So if the leaf is already damaged, it's not gonna do anything for that damaged leaf, okay? But if you have some leaves that are younger leaves that are just coming on, you can spray this product on those leaves, yeah, it'll protect them, okay? Now, the thing about using copper product is this. I always tell folks, if you're gonna use a copper product, get you another product as well, because you need to rotate your mode of actions of your fungicides, any of your pesticides for that matter, right? Because you don't wanna use the same thing over and over and over again, because things build up tolerance, right? Copper can build up in the soil, okay? It can build up to the soil to a point, it can actually be toxic to the plant. So I would be careful using this product over and over and over again. So the thing about copper is this, the copper fungicide, it has a broad spectrum activity that acts on bacteria and fungi. So that's why a lot of people like to use it, because it works again on bacterial and fungi, right? Which makes it a real good product. In organic form, it can build up in the soil. So that's why you have to be careful about using this product over and over and over again, because you do know copper is one of the elements, right? And one of the nutrients, right? They can be used by the plant. So you don't want that to build up in the soil, okay? Potassium bicarbonate, folks, potassium bicarbonate, right? Now, notice I said potassium bicarbonate, not sodium bicarbonate, because if I said sodium bicarbonate, what should you be thinking about? baking soda, right, which is a salt. Baking soda. This is potassium bicarbonate. And as you can see, it works very well on your mildews, right? Powdery and downy mildew. And the thing about potassium bicarbonate is pretty much this. It actually slows the growth or kills mold spores, okay? Let me say it again. It slows the growth and kills mold spores, right? And then it contains potassium. Potassium, of course, we know is a fertilizer, right? The plants can actually use it. Right? Read and follow the label. It is safe to use. Again, pretty much this controls your mildews for the most part. And I know a lot of folks use the old chlorothianil, right? It's not as effective, you know, of course, but we're talking about organic means, right? Okay, because daconil is not an organic product, right? Potassium bicarbonate is, okay? So just be mindful of that, okay? And this should be our last one. How about sulfur? Have y'all heard of using sulfur before? It's the oldest known pesticide. I remember that from being in one of my classes, right? Back in college. It's the oldest known pesticide. It's been around forever. It comes in a dust form, a liquid form, wettable powder, and it also comes in a paste, right? But it's very specific to what it will control. As you can see there, that's real good on mildew and on rust. Real specific, okay? But here's something interesting about the sulfur though. It actually has insecticidal properties, right? It can actually control spider mites and thrips. So think about that for a second, right? But the thing about using this product is this though, Celeste. Here's the thing, right? And I will say this for any pesticide, right? It's best not to use those pesticides when it's above 80, 85 degrees, right? Because you're gonna get some type of burn. You're gonna get some type of phytotoxicity, right? So you have to be careful about using these products, especially sulfur, when it's over 85 degrees. And the thing about sulfur, yeah, once you spray it on the leaves, you're gonna use it as a foliar spray. If we get these little pop-up showers and things that we've been getting here for the past week or so, guess what just happened? It washed it off. It washed it off, folks. So you gotta get back out there and reapply again. Right? That's the only thing about using, you know, this product and some of the other products as well. Yeah, because these pop-up showers, the intensity of the rain, yeah, just washes that leaf right off, right? But be careful about using any of your pesticides when it's above 80, 85 degrees, especially your oils that I mentioned earlier, right? Because you're gonna get some burn. So you have to be careful about using that product, y'all. So there you have it, sulfur. So who knew, right? Sulfur. Actually a good fungicide, but has insecticidal properties. So pretty cool. So folks, we've come to the end, right? So my thing is always this, when I talk to beginner gardeners, when I talk to those experienced gardeners, when I talk to my master gardeners, I always say this: read and follow the label. You don't believe everything I say? Read the label for yourself. In another past life, you know, I worked as one of these research guys in a lab. In the first week of orientation at this job for this chemical company, we were in a room all day for a week, and the first thing they would say and the last thing they would say every day was, read and follow the label. Everything you need to know is there on the label: how to use the product, the active ingredient, PPE. We've heard that word a lot. It will tell you what you need to wear when you're spraying these products. Read and follow the label, okay? And my bottom line, you see it. Let's make good decisions out there, folks. You know, got to make good decisions about the plant material that we have in our landscape. All right, and here's why, and I'll close it with this. All of us have heard of IPM, Integrated Pest Management, right? Big word, but to me, this is what it means. You want to keep in harmonious balance, right, between the good pest, the bad pest, and your environment. That's what it means to me, a harmonious balance between the good pest, the bad pest, and your environment, okay? And here's how you can do that, okay? We talked about one of them, choosing resistant plants, resistant varieties. I mean, I can't stress that enough, right? Do work, do research, know the plant that you're going to invite to your home to put in the ground, okay? I think that is so important. The second thing is this, and Celeste, you know this because we say it all the time as extension agents. What's your soil pH? Have you had your soil tested? Get your soil tested, right? So yeah, you got to get your soil tested, right? Because you want to set your plants to grow to optimum potential, right? To their optimum potential. But that's going to require having a good soil pH, right? To grow to that optimum potential, okay? Because those little plants that you put in your ground, right, in that soil, they grow to be big plants. They want to be big boys and big girls, right? But they need the proper nutrients to be able to do that. So you have to make sure that you have the appropriate soil pH for them to be able to do that. Because soil pH, folks, is all about nutrient availability. Nutrient availability. If I learned anything in my soils class, I learned that. Nutrient availability, okay? Here's something else I want you to think about. How about those light and moisture requirements, right? What about your landscape? Do you have full sun? Do you have part shade? All shade? I mean, all of that to me makes a difference, right? And okay, so you have your plant. You're gonna water your plant, okay? Can your plant actually deal with drought-like conditions or can it not? Are you gonna put plants that can actually tolerate drought-like conditions with plants that don't? Because what kills more plants than anything else? It's
Overwatering.
Overwatering. So that's what I mean by doing your homework. So check the light and the moisture requirements, right? I mean, you're not gonna put, some of your hostas in the full sun, just melt away. Okay, so you just have to make sure. I've done that. So you just have to make sure. Yeah. I need to move some now. I'm gonna do it in the fall.
They look okay early in the spring. They're pretty ratty right now, but hey.
Oh, mine look terrible. Mine look terrible. If I could take you outside to see them, yeah, they look okay. So yeah, check your light and moisture requirements. The last 2 points I like to make is, and I wrote these down because I always forget these. Prepare planting sites properly. That's what it is. Prepare planting sites properly. So when you're preparing a site, right, you don't have to make it so big. Okay, 90% of the root ball needs to go in that site, right? Top 10% of the roots, right, are in that. Well, the top roots are in the top 10% of that root ball, right? Because you want the roots to get out into the soil. Okay, you want to be able to see the root flares, folks. Okay, you don't want to bury whatever it is that you're trying to plant, right? You got to see the root flares, okay? Because if not, the plant is pretty much suffocating down there, okay? You got all this heavy clay soil on top of it. It's like, I can't breathe down here. I can't breathe, help me out, all right? So prepare that site properly, okay? Do that. And my last point is this: avoid drought stress, okay? We get a lot of calls about some of our evergreens, our junipers, our Leyland cypress, Celeste, arborvitae, browning out and things like that. Well, it just happened overnight. Well, it actually happened when we had that flash drought last year and you didn't water, right? So you have to make sure that you're watering your plants during drought-like conditions, because we seem to have that almost every year, okay? But the symptoms usually don't show up until the next season, right? Until the next year. So avoid drought stress if all possible, because plants that are stressed, folks, release volatile organic compounds that insect pests pick up on and they go right to it, okay? So be careful of that. So those are my points about integrated pest management. I thank you again for the opportunity, Ms. Sue Barnes. Thank you, Celeste, for being here this evening. I hope everybody learned a few things or two. I hope this was fun for you, because it was definitely fun for me. This is the first time I've done this presentation. But again, I can thank those beginner gardeners, for the inspiration, for this presentation, because again, there's always a lot of questions about growing our plant materials organically. And I thought I'd just approach the topic and just kind of talk about those things that I knew, for sure would work, and then check with research to make sure it was recommended. So that's my story, folks. I'm sticking to it. How about it? How about it?
Wonderful. And everything that you talked about tonight, Chris, it just played in perfectly to our IPM class that we just had Tuesday night for the trainees. So folks that are here with that, I mean, this was just you know, layer upon layer of backup information we talked about and adding on new stuff. And I'm telling you, they learned a lot because this chat box has been hopping the whole.
Oh, it's been hopping?
Yeah. I've been like, I feel like I just been typing the whole time. Like you'd say something, I'd think of something I wanted to add and I put it in there. And then people would be commenting on it and asking questions. So
Good.
Lots and lots of feedback, and
Good.
everybody has really, really loved it. Thank you.
Good. I like feedback. Yeah, I like that. And thank you, Celeste, for answering those questions and then, providing, publication or whatever the case may be, for questions. Because I know you do a good job, doing that, for those Tuesday Hort topics and Friday Zoom. So yeah, that's real good. So I'm glad to know. And I'm looking at the number. I see 82 up there. So I guess people are putting stuff in the chat. Wow, how about that?
Yeah. Definitely. We've been hopping over here. And like you said, I've included some publications, and I might just send y'all a group email tomorrow that has them in there, because there were several publications that he was referring to, in his discussion that I put in the chat box. So if you didn't have a chance to copy and save those in your browser, I'll just try to remember to email those to everybody. Because it'd be super helpful, and most of them are brand new. We've got tons and tons of brand new publication information in the area of residential horticulture out there, y'all. So definitely hop on uthort.com and just start checking it out, because that's where we're trying to house everything. So,
that's good to know, Celeste. Yeah, that's real good to know. I've been sending a lot of those beginner gardeners to the UT Hort. They say they absolutely love it, because there's a lot of good publications. Especially for them, because they're just starting out. They're just starting.
Right. And it's easy. The reason I like it is because it's an easy search. So like, if you try to go to UT publications site, it's hard to search that site. But at uthort.com, you just type in organic, bam, the publication you want comes up. I mean, it's on top.
It comes right up. And I'll tell you this, because I know you and I, I'm sure a lot of you master gardeners, do a lot of reading. A lot of those publications are actually, fun reading. They're easy to read, if you will.
Mm-hmm. They're really, the newer ones are laid out more in a magazine type fashion. Yeah. So you don't feel like you're reading a textbook or something that's really print material. It feels more personal and meaningful, I feel like. But anyway.
Yeah, they're not those technical, publications that, I do look at from time to time. But yeah, they're easy to read, easy for folks to understand, and they're a good resource. There's no doubt about that. They're a real good resource. Yeah, this was fun, folks. It's fun. I wish I could be there in person, but we know because of COVID-19, can't be there in person. I hope you were able to learn a few things. I got excited a couple of times yesterday, so I didn't jump out of my chair this time. So I a little better.
Well, it was great. I really enjoyed it, and we're sorry that you can't be here too, but when all this stuff gets sorted out, we will have you back. So
I definitely do appreciate that, and I appreciate the eyeballs on the family plot. I do know that my producer appreciates that so much. So does WKNO, and yeah, I'm working on Celeste. We want to get Celeste back, because she has her fans out there as well. So we're going to try to get Celeste back here real soon. COVID-19 has slowed us down a little bit, as far as production goes. But, we hope to have Celeste back with us soon, because she does an awesome job.
Me too.
As you will know.
Okay, so before I let
first time I saw Celeste, I asked her, I said, when are you going to be back on the family plot? That was the first thing I asked her. When I saw her.
And it made me so happy. I was like, oh, you knew it was on there.
Well, Miss,
she did great barrels.
She did a couple of segments. She did fertilizing, but I tell you what, Miss Jennifer, now Celeste probably won't tell you this, but I've been calling her for the past couple of months, trying to.
She did tell me that. She said, yeah, he's going to keep on calling me, but since of COVID, I can't leave the area.
Which I respect, but I did tell her I've been calling her, and we hope to have her back soon.
We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen first.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, thank you, Chris, again for being on here with us. And before I let everybody go, I forgot to mention in my little update section that I wanted everybody to know that a nomination committee has been appointed because, as you know, we are nearing the end of the year. So elections will be coming up, and November is the last meeting of the year. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up. The nomination committee is Bill Wyatt, Darlene Tanner, and Celeste Pope. And we will have 3 positions available, coming available that we're going to be nominating for. The first one is a board position. The next is president. And the other one is vice president of programs. So if you are interested in a position, make sure that you contact either Bill Wyatt, Darlene Tanner, or Celeste Pope and let them know that you are interested in a leadership position, because they will be the ones who will be compiling the slates, and they'll also be reaching out to some people. So they've got, some ideas, and we've already had a little feedback of people who are interested in serving in some of these capacities. But if you haven't told anyone that you're interested in serving, they don't know that you want to, so you need to let them know, okay? Okay, well, that's all I've got. And so I will say this has been a great meeting. So glad to see so many familiar faces. And thank you again, Chris, for being with you. And we will sign off. And y'all have a good evening. And we'll keep.
Celeste, can I ask you one thing though?
Yeah.
So, has anybody heard from Dr. Sams and Miss Carol?
Yes, so they are traveling. They are out to their new home. It's finished, and so going up there, and they're going to be there for a while. I don't think their plans were like solid, or whatever.
Okay.
They're not going permanently yet. They do have to come back and market the house and get the rest of their stuff and all that kind of stuff. So we keep it a secret, but we're trying to plan something for and trying to figure out how to do it, but we can't all get together. So we're just brainstorming, trying to think of what we could do. Could it be a drive-through? Could it be it's so hard for people to get together and not want to hug each other or shake hands.
I agree.
And when you've known someone that long and he's got so many connections, I know that would be hard, and I don't want to tempt people.
Yeah.
But be thinking about that and keep it a secret.
I will. Yeah, that's my guy. I love Dr. Miss Carol. Yeah, love him.
All right, gang.
Thank y'all.
We'll see you Tuesday morning, Plant Talk with me and Jason. If y'all want to do Facebook Live, you can always hop.
Yeah, that's right. I'll see you Tuesday morning. Yeah, those have been good.
Cool. Bye, y'all.
All right.